Hello, welcome to episode 3 of my journey with the Enchanted Map Oracle card deck by Colette Baron Reid, as illustrated by Jenna Della Bertaglia. That's the box. And I decided to start this a couple of days ago to chronicle my journey getting to know this deck. It's a deck that's very personal to me and that I don't actually know that well. And so, in getting to know the deck, I'm putting myself out there and pulling a card for myself every day and sitting here and just being raw and real and talking about what it means to me. Um, Yesterday, I pulled education in reverse, in the reverse position. And I think I talked a lot about what that meant to me in the moment. Um, and I find it fascinating how these cards work, where I started my episode yesterday with all this knowledge I had gained about the word talisman and all this research I had done. And then I pull education and protection or reverse position, which means, I needed to really look at um, not getting lost in the books and the words, and doing that spiritual bypass and thinking I'm a spiritual being, because I know the facts of the matter. So I think it's all an illusion, right? So I just, I'm always amazed at how the cards kind of call me out on my shit. Um, Spirit used to have to be pretty blunt with me, and still sometimes is. And when I would get cocky or think I knew too much, um, I would literally fall on my face. I would trip on absolutely nothing. One time I was walking with a student of mine and I was pontificating. I was just in my glory. I was going on and on about, what I knew and this is how it was. And the next thing you know, I'm just face on the ground. And I popped back up, kept walking and kept talking. And that poor student was just, she couldn't laugh. She was just like in shock. We got to the car and I said, you can laugh now. That's an example of how spirit was like, all right, stop it, get out of your head. Luckily, that doesn't happen to me too often anymore. It does still happen, but not too often. Um, I find that the card I drew yesterday um, was kind of a metaphorical uh, falling on my face kind of thing, where here I am starting this, this venture on YouTube, and I'm putting myself out there, and because I'm nervous and that this is very uncomfortable and unfamiliar for me, I dug into the knowledge and the research around the first card. And so Spirit was like, no, this is about coming from your heart and being genuine and feeling. This is not about Marianne in the head. So those are my other thoughts on yesterday's poll. Um, I cannot teach myself to my ascension, if that makes any sense. I mean, I can certainly read and research and learn and understand and open up new information. I have got to balance my head and my heart. I have got to be heart forward. And that's my truth. That's my reality. Other people may be somewhere else with this journey. That's just where I am. I know that my intuition and my soul self, my higher self, my genuine self, my God spark, that all lives in my heart, and it lives in my feelings. It's anchored in how I feel, not what I think. Again, for me, thinking is my ego. Thinking is not wanting me to do things different. Thinking is not it wants to protect me with knowledge and facts. It doesn't want me to feel my intuition and my true magic because it's unfamiliar. So I know that's a little repetitive of the last 2 days, but I just kind of wanted to recap that. I'm going to do one more day of a general question, and then next week I want to get into asking more specific questions. But for today, we're going to just pull another general card. And again, I will say that there's no way to shuffle. Shuffle any which way you want. One of the things that I do, people talk about clearing their deck before they use it each time. And some people tap on it, some people blow just to clear the energy around the deck. I know people that put their decks out with crystals to clear it, or on the full moon, or, whatever ritual you want to do is fine if that's what you think clears it. I will tell you one of the things that I do is I say the Ho'oponopono prayer mantra, if you will. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me and thank you. And that is something I've inserted into the spaces in my mind. It was a tool I used early on to change my thoughts so that I wasn't repeating the same scenarios in my head or having the same negative self-talk. It's one of the first things I did on my spiritual journey was to become aware of my thoughts, which was very difficult, and then to change my thoughts. And I found that when I wasn't focused on something, my thoughts were very negative or stuck in the past, or I was worried about the future. And so to bring that into the present, I found that mantra very helpful for me. And one of the things I do with my cards is as I'm shuffling them, I'm saying that in my mind. Sometimes I say it out loud. And it's funny, I haven't mentioned it before because I don't even realize I do it anymore, which is wonderful because it's automatic. And I'd rather that be my automatic thought than any other negative thoughts I used to have. When I am waking, my first thoughts as I'm in the aware awake state are that mantra. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me and thank you. And it doesn't have to be in that order. And sometimes I only say a few of them, 2 or 3 of them, and mix up the order. But I come into the waking world, the awake world, with that on my mind. And spirit knows that that's all about love and light and wanting to tap into that heart self. So that's one of the things I do around my deck. And to me, that clears my deck, that refreshes it from the previous reading. And as you know, I believe strongly in prayer and intention. So today I intend to truly hear what Spirit has to say. And I do this in only love and light. I call on my ancestors that have gone before me, that love me unconditionally in spirit. I call on the divine source, my guides in spirit. I ask that I be removed from my ego, from my thoughts, so that I may be a true vessel to hear and to speak what it is Spirit wants to say today. Okay, we got another card in protection or reverse. In some of Colette's decks, she says reverse, and some of her decks she calls it protection. Actually, I don't remember. She calls them reversed in the map. So if I say protection, um, it's the same as a reversed position. And so that again, just as a repeat, means that it's not bad, it's not negative, it's extra medicine, it's extra love, it's extra hug from the universe. That's why I think she uses the word protection sometimes, because it's extra protection around you. So I'm getting some pretty intense messages, and I didn't state the question out loud this time, but I knew it in my head, and I talked about it. I said I was going to ask another general question. So um, Spirit knew that my question again was, what do I need to know for the next 24 hours for my highest good? And it's a beautiful card. So I pulled it in that position, which is reversed, and it's called Slow and Steady. Um, So as I look at this card again and try to feel into the card, I really like the colors. I like the blues and the greens. You know, I see the nautilus shell, um, which is a beautiful symbol, and it makes me think of the sacred geometry, and fractals, which I'm fairly obsessed with these days. You know, repeating patterns, and the patterns that are the building blocks of nature that we see all throughout the structure of cells, of leaves, of trees, and then, you know, of ourselves, of humans. And so I resonate a lot with this image, obviously. And then I see, you know, the upper part of her body, and she's like this, and she's got her wings, and she has a mask on. Um, but it looks like she's moving to me, because there's the ribbons are flowing, like there's air moving on her, or she's moving forward. I like the light, how it illuminates on this. There's some bubbles at the top of the card. Um, for me, I feel very grounded with this card. I feel grounded. I feel movement, and it's positive movement. Um, but she's got a serious look at her face. She's very focused. She's focused in a soft kind of way, where you know how you kind of sometimes in meditation, you if you're focused like on a flame with your eyes open, or focused on something, and then you kind of try to notice what's in the periphery of your focus. And that's kind of where I think a lot of the magic happens, or where the important images come up for me. Um, and that it looks like that's how her gaze is. So let's see what the book says. Slow and steady wins the race. Hmm. Pushing things forward impulsively will not only prevent success, but potentially cause more trouble than you're prepared to handle. Moving too quickly will only yield up unripe fruit with a bitter taste. Slow down, breathe, meditate. You're not a human doing, you're a human being. Just be. Everything will work out if you can apply the brakes and become more aware of what's happening in the moment. A calm focus on the now, breathing in the beauty of your surroundings, will restore your power to consciously co create your world. All fruits ripen in their own time. Well, this is loaded for me. I will tell you, interestingly, I had a dream last night, this morning, and it's a recurring theme I have, and it's a very frustrating one. And I've done a lot of journaling and a lot of dream work around this particular theme, but I can't get the brakes to work. And last night, this morning in my dream, I hit somebody, and she was crossing a street, and she was looking right in my eyes, and I just couldn't. I couldn't find the brake pedal. I just couldn't. And there was a red stoplight even, and I I hit her, and then she was okay in the dream. It was interesting. I won't go into my dream, but that came up immediately, because it said everything will work out if you can apply the brakes and become more aware of what's happening in the moment. And that's the key: become more aware of what's happening in the moment. And for me, feel in the moment, not awareness in terms of that hypervigilance I talked about, like who's coming into my environment, and is there a threat? So this is about, how do I feel right at this moment? What do I hear? What do I smell? Use my senses in the moment. A calm focus on the now, breathing in beauty of your surroundings. Um, and doing that throughout the day is difficult for me. I get going, I'm in my head, but actually consciously going, wow, look at that green. Look at that. I'm looking out the window, so I see this very different shades of green, and just sitting with that for a moment and feeling into it. This will restore your power to consciously co-create your world. This has been a tough lesson for me when I first started this process, because I came from a world where I had to drive to work, like many of us, and I live in a metropolitan area where there's at least 500,000 people, in like a 20-mile radius of the main city, that are trying to commute on a daily basis. And so traffic, a 20-minute drive to work was easy an hour, and it was, fraught with all kinds of frustrations and hurry up. Am I going to get to my first client on time? And then, it was client after client after client. And, the pace of life was so fast, and you had to constantly push and push and push. And then getting home was another battle. And then you get home, and the responsibilities there. So when I walked out of that world, literally just walked the fuck out of that world, and sat here in my house in this other world, it was so hard to be and not to do. It was so hard. And it still is. It's easier, but it's still hard, and it's still something on a daily basis I have to work on. I constantly pulled, slow down, take a nap, frozen, all these cards that were like, nope, not yet, you're not ready. Because I had started asking questions. Well, what do I need to know about my next career? What do I need to do to, get back out in the world? And I thought I wasn't in the world, but I'm learning. I'm really, truly integrating into for me what the real purpose of me being in the world is now. But I didn't get it then. And I just kept getting these cards like slow and steady. And wow, did it piss me off. I would get so angry, and then I'd have to deal with all that. So this, this process of ascension and self-discovery, certainly not an easy one. This card also makes me think about yesterday. It became very clear to me that, I need to get out of my head and get literally get out of the books and get outside. And I did, and I felt great. I had a great time, interacted with neighbors at an appropriate social distance, of course. Was able to play with some kids from an appropriate social distance, which always lightens my heart and gets me out of my head. And this card makes me think about, it reinforces that, to get back out in nature, and to look at the patterns in nature. I talk about how much I love sacred geometry. Well, okay, maybe today as I'm outside, I'll start trying to notice those patterns more. So another good card for me to really take a look at applying the brakes. Those card dreams are really pissing me off. I'm really tired of not being able to put those brakes on. Slowing down allows more contact with the juicier elements of your life. Savor them. Sounds like a good place to end this. So with that, I will say goodbye, and I will see you tomorrow. Namaste.